Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. The NFL today informed teams that the 2025 salary cap will be in the range of $277.5 million to $281.5 million, up from last year's $255.4 million. And the cap, according to Dan Graziano of ESPN, will have increased by over $53 million over the course of the last 2 years. Also, from earlier this morning, the league is going back to Brazil in the 2025 season. The LA Chargers will play in São Paulo on Friday, September 5th, one day after the season opens on Thursday Night Football. College hoops tonight, Vanderbilt looks for the season sweep against Kentucky as they travel to Rupp Arena, tip-off at 6 p.m. And the Belmont Bruins are at home tonight hosting Northern Iowa. That's a 6:30 tip at the Curb. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. As you just heard in the update, the salary cap range has been put out there. They're still waiting on some finalized numbers, but $277.5 million to $281.5 million is the range. That is up roughly $22 million from the prior year. So lots of cap space to be had for all the teams that were in need of it. There are still several teams over the cap, like the Saints, who are $47 million over the cap still. The Browns are $24 million over the cap. So still some work to do for some of these teams, but they still got 2 weeks. And speaking of that, some interesting news, or I guess information, I guess I should say, popped up yesterday shortly after we ended our show. In fact, 9 minutes after we ended our show. From Dan Graziano of ESPN, who said, per a leak source, the Vikings and cornerback Byron Murphy, easy for me to say, have agreed to push back the void date on his contract. Originally, the deal voided 23 days prior to the start of the league year, which was been either yesterday or today. Now it's the day before the start of the league year, which means Murphy cannot be franchised since the date is past the deadline for teams to use the franchise tag, which would be March 4th. Interestingly, they did not reach the same agreement with quarterback Sam Darnold, whose contract still voids 23 days before the start of the league year. If they don't do a new deal with Darnold before the contract voids, the $5 million in remaining signing bonus prorates and would automatically accelerate into their 2025 salary cap as dead money for Sam Darnold. Upshot here, they still can franchise Darnold, but can't franchise the aforementioned Murray or Aaron Jones, who's a running back who they wouldn't franchise tag anyway. But what that means essentially is that they took one option off the table for franchise tag, which was going to be Byron Murphy. There was a rumor that they may tag him. So that sounds like to me they're pretty close to a deal with Byron Murphy, so that where they can get maybe some, they're very comfortable not having that franchise tag option because they think they'll get something done before free agency begins. What that tells me about Sam Darnold is that they are either gearing up for the franchise tag or free agency, which we kind of thought. There doesn't seem like there's a long-term deal on the table. Seems like it's one or the other. Mm-hmm. So that brings the question full circle. What does it mean for the Tennessee Titans if Sam Darnold is franchise tagged? Because that means that he would be owed $40 million, and if he signed the tag, that's your starting base price, right? Like $40
million for the quarterback?
Yeah, it's $40 million for the quarterback. Maybe even a little bit higher now that the franchise or the salary cap is going to raise. Mm-hmm. But also, if you also look at it this way, Blaine, right now the Vikings are estimated to project $63 million in cap space. So if you have Sam Darnold on the tag, there goes $40 million of that if you do not work out an extension at some point. So you have to work under the assumption, if you're the Vikings, if you do a tag that, okay, $40 million is tied up. at the moment. So like your other free agency moves have to kind of be made with that in mind, not to mention your draft picks, but they don't have a lot of draft picks to sign. So that really probably won't factor in much for them. So at the end of the day, what's the ripple effect of that decision is the discussion that we're going to have today. It doesn't matter if you guys don't want Sam Darnold, but if Sam Darnold is off the table for other teams, that means other quarterbacks you may want are off the table for you. So it's a ripple effect decision. It's a domino falling.
Yeah, it doesn't matter for me if he's franchise tagged or is not based off of what the Vikings are doing. As I said before, I like Sam Darnold for a bridge or temporary quarterback. I don't want him as the starting franchise quarterback because of his history. And it's, you're not based off of your last play, your last 2 games, your last season. It's based off your total body of work. So Sam Darnold wasn't even on the radar for me as far as this offseason, as far as a franchise quarterback. I mean, signing him to a long-term deal, 3, 4, 5-year deal. I like him for a 1-year deal, maybe 2, but I don't think he's going to go for that. And I think a lot of other teams are going to look at him differently. I think they're getting a little nervous that the Raiders, maybe being a West Coast guy, is trying to come after him. I think that's really what this is all about. So I could care less about what they are doing, but I get what you're talking about here as far as the ripple effect. I don't know if the Titans were going to go after him or not because I thought they were going to get into a bidding war, and I thought we would lose that.
Yeah, well, there's a difference in what you're saying, too, because they're going to go after him, but they may not get him.
Yeah, right.
So, but at the end of the day, because I do agree, I think the Raiders are the likeliest landing spot because they have so much cap space. As of right now, they're estimated. Pop-up ads at overthecap.com are the worst. I
think Sam Darnold is an average starting quarterback, and I'm going to quantify that by saying, what is his passer rating?
I'll have to look it up. I don't know it off the top of my head.
Well, I'm going to guess that it's 60 or below. And if you saw that over his career, I think then you would say, I don't know.
So are you wanting his career passer rating?
Yeah.
83.9 is his career.
I'm sorry, what's
completion percentage?
Yes.
61.2.
61. See that? And so that is an important number to me. And that is not quite where I want for a guy that's been up and down his career. I got to feel a little more secure when I'm talking about giving that kind of money. That's why I'm saying I don't. And as much as I want him to get a chance to, I really want to see another season, but see him get in the playoffs the second time to see, I wish it was with the Titans, but it won't be probably, to see if he could come back from that. Because, that was his first experience. So I can't judge him like, okay, well, I would assume being a competitor, that next time won't be new to him. It'll be his second go-round. I'm sure he'll be out to prove that he'll be better. But you got to look at also all those things around him. So I just felt like Darnold, I thought he was going to get outpriced and just really wasn't going to be on the market for the Titans.
I think what it causes.
I think he's a great talent, but I think he's just an average starting quarterback.
About
is he better than Tannehill? No, real quick. That's what I want.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't say his talent. I didn't say his talent.
But not better than probably 2019, 2020 Ryan Tannehill, but he is better than probably all the other versions of Ryan Tannehill.
Okay.
But it's not really about whether the Titans should get Darnold or not or sign Darnold. It's more about the ripple effect, right? So, if Sam Darnold is franchise tagged,
but if I don't want him, it was never going to be a ripple.
Well,
for me.
it is. It is for you because now you have one less. You have another team that may need one of the quarterbacks you do like.
Nobody wants the quarterbacks I want.
You don't think so? Nobody wants.
Nobody wants Jimmy G or Mac Jones.
I don't know. There may be a team out there that maybe has to have one of those guys.
Oh no, I think they are all second tier guys.
But in the general discussion,
I know.
In the general discussion, I mean, you may listen. I'm just trying to help you out. Jimmy G. Maybe a team wants Jimmy G.
Hey man, I'm just trying to get by these next couple years. Man.
But so the question then becomes: is there going to be a team out there that wants to trade away their second round pick? Because that's how the franchise tag works. You trade away the second round pick, or maybe you can work out a deal for something else. But most teams they'll probably hold out for a second round pick because they know they're not going to get a first, and they may not get the second round pick. But let's say second round pick.
Would you give up a second round pick if you're the Titans?
If I'm the Titans, no.
Right, okay.
I mean, now listen, there's going to be people out there that will say, well, if you sign Sam Darnold, you could draft Travis Hunter, right? If you trade the number 2 overall pick for Sam Darnold, you could still draft Travis Hunter. That's true, but you are still trying to build up a younger team. Now you don't have a second round pick and you don't have a third round pick in a draft where the belly of the draft is very important.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good on paper, but I can't.
Right. It sounds very appealing logically up here, but really it's not that appealing because Sam Darnold's probably good enough to win you games, and you have no first round pick, and everybody kind of knows then that a quarterback may fall to them, right? The Browns and the Giants may seem like, well, we'll have our quarterback because they're likely not going to draft a quarterback. Yeah. Now, it doesn't, because if you're trading a pick away, that means that you're kind of, to me, trading the pick is more of a commitment than just signing them as a free agent. Because not only are you having to spend the same money you would have spent if he was a free agent, but you also gave up the draft pick. That says more about what they think of Sam Darnold than I do just the standard free agency. Yeah. It's a fine line, but that's how I feel about it.
Watch this. I'm going to ask you a question, and I don't want you to think about stats or what year they came out.
I'm going to close my eyes and think about it.
Who's better right now? And you don't laugh. Okay. Sam Darnold or Jameis Winston?
Sam Darnold.
Why?
Because he doesn't throw the interceptions like crazy like Jameis Winston does. Jameis Winston is just a turnover machine.
No,
he throws his interceptions.
True. Right, that's true.
But I feel like if you put them in the same situation, Sam Darnold will always outperform
you think?
Than Jameis Winston.
I think you're right, but I think there is not a big margin there.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. It's not maybe a big margin.
And with me saying that tells me I'm not Sam Darnold guy.
There you go.
Right. See, that's what told me. I said, okay, would I sign Jameis Winston? Is Sam Darnold better than Jameis Winston? Yeah, he is.
So I would get on board
just because of the turnovers.
I would get on board with phrasing it this way. I think the talent gap between them does not equate to the money gap between them.
Right. See, that's exactly what I'm saying. Great. Okay. The talent level is somewhat close. You go, okay, and Winston's older. He turns the ball over more, but he can have some good games in there. So where's Darnold?
At least of what we've been given informationally
we have
so
a
far.
lot of data right here with them. With good teams, bad teams, so I just felt like, well, dang, I don't want to feel that way about my franchise quarterback. I want to feel like this is my guy. Yeah. And so when I'm talking about Jimmy G, I'm talking about Mac Jones or anybody who's on the chat, making fun of that, I'm not trying to get a franchise quarterback. I'm trying to get bodies next year or two.
Right.
Mm-hmm. See, so
if your franchise quarterback's not in the draft, then you're not trying to find your franchise quarterback.
Yeah, if I can't, in
free agency, because there really isn't.
And you got the number 1 pick, so they may decide they want a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
They may take the guy, whoever they think it is, Sanders or, Ward. Maybe they go that route and go, vice versa, and then put the pieces around them at the same time and they grow together. They could be thinking that way too.
Yeah. 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the discussion. When we come back, we'll talk more about the ripple effect, and we'll also talk about Jordan Schultz's latest reporting around Matt Stafford. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here, 105 The Zone.
Stinky, stinky, stinky. Was that the way it was the last time you were at an auto repair shop? Smelly, greasy old rags laying around all over the place on the countertop, and you wouldn't dare touch them? Another thing that stinks is the repair shops that keep your car forever, and they're not honest, and don't give you a call back when they say they will. Was that your last experience at a vehicle repair shop? Well, hey, it's Blaine Bishop to tell you about Eurofix, and they take the stink out of European auto repair. And at Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-rinse inspection with an estimate at every visit and not high-pressure sales tactics. And at Eurofix, you also get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment and never pay dealer pricing. And they were family-owned for 26 years. Located all over the state of Tennessee in Franklin, Hundred Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myeurofix.com. that's my Eurofix.com. But always tell them Blaine said you.
Do you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door, 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation where we're talking about the Sam Darnold ripple effect. Obviously, if Minnesota tags them, then they're kind of in it. This is why I don't think Minnesota tags them, by the way. Not only does it tie up $40 million, but you're fingers crossed that someone wants to trade for Sam Darnold.
Oh.
And, like, if they don't trade for him, you can always rescind the tag if he doesn't sign it. But if you rescind the tag, don't you look like the a-holes on by, tagging someone, then waiting for a while, you not finding a trade, then taking away $40 million away from him?
They can still do that? I thought they put a rule in there.
No, you can rescind it.
Oh, that's
you have a deadline until you can rescind it, but
they moved it
in
to
July, but...
Yeah, that would be bad for business.
This is why I don't think they're going to do anything with Sam Darnold, and I've been kind of on this train. I think he's going to see free agency. They even said they signed him and decided to play him with hopes that he could get paid in free agency. Yeah. Now, I understand things have changed. 14-2 can change a lot. But you have a rookie quarterback in right there ready to go. You have shown that you can work with almost any kind of quarterback. If like we're discussing, if we don't think that Jameis Winston and Sam Darnold are that big of a difference, talent-wise, well, if you're the Vikings, you could just go find another quarterback for $10 million, like a Jameis Winston or Justin Fields, to be the backup for J.J. McCarthy, or Daniel Jones, who's already on your roster, or he's going to be a free agent, but Daniel Jones as well, like. The need for Sam Darnold and the risk that comes with tagging him doesn't make much sense from a logical perspective unless you really think someone out there is willing to part with a second-round pick for Sam Darnold. And if I'm the Tennessee, and if there is a team that's willing to do that, I pray that it's not the Tennessee Titans. I'd rather just go in with no quarterback at that point.
You'd rather do what my strategy is. Go on with some. Yeah, just go with Winston or Mac Jones or whoever, Jimmy G. Yeah. I think at this point in time, there's so many holes, and that's what my philosophy is. Now, you do have an opportunity, if you're the Titans, to pick a quarterback with the first pick. So it'd be interesting to see if they decided, okay, we're just going to do this in reverse. Hopefully everything kind of works out, together, and you get your quarterback, then get your right tackle, whatever order you want to go in, get your pass rusher, and then, get some, receivers, DBs, whatever else you need, and with your quarterback developing under that whole, foundational running through, and him going to be making mistakes, and everybody's making mistakes, and they're growing together. That is a philosophy that the Titans could be taking. We have no idea.
Well, you would think with Sam Darnold off the board, then you look over at the Raiders and the Steelers, right? They're the next two quarterback dominoes to fall. Which one of them takes Aaron Rodgers off your hands? So there's your Aaron Rodgers headache likely gone as well. And then does one of those teams trade for Matt Stafford? Because Jordan Schultz today reported on his new NFL Confidential article, Jordan Schultz said that teams are calling on Matt Stafford right now. And now they think that league-wide, the minimum that they're going to take is one first-round pick.
Well, they got to start high.
They got to start high. But, I mean, like, the Steelers are kind of in that territory of a low first-round pick, and you could get Matt Stafford. So, like, right now, if Sam Darnold's off that market, that changes. Maybe the Raiders start jumping in the conversations a little bit more for Matt Stafford if Sam Darnold's not going to hit free agency. So, like, that is just a ripple effect of taking away what is already kind of a thin free agency quarterback market. If he's not there, that kind of other teams kind of have to move on without trying to get Sam Darnold at that point.
Well, I have to know this before I even have a guess on what they may potentially, the Vikings, do with Sam Darnold. And that is J.J. McCarthy. He had a meniscus tear, and then he had a second meniscus tear, or another surgery. Meniscus tear, I played the next week. So I don't understand. And there's different meniscus tears. Obviously, he must have did something super serious, and they put him on IR for the whole entire season. So I'm interested to see how healthy is he at this point in time, because then I think they may be able to move past Sam Darnold if they believe he's completely healthy, and maybe that's why they did that, because they already had a veteran quarterback on their roster and they had a backup. So I don't know that. I don't think they're going to tag him.
I'm with you. I just don't see it, and I think that's just a huge risk for them. You know, for a guy that has kind of proven that when it mattered most.
How often has a player who's got franchised, it was a quarterback, got traded?
Ooh.
See, and it's hard
After
for
a
me to-
franchise tag, I can't remember. The people didn't even
I'm
want to
sure it
trade for
was
Lamar
one.
Jackson. Remember
Right.
when he got franchise tagged?
I just don't think that that's a possibility if he got taken. Not unless you say they offered us just so much we
because
can't.
everybody saw the same game you saw.
Yeah.
So are you really willing? Because then what happens is in the negotiations, like if he hits free agency, you may be able to get him less than $40 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you tag him, now you know that $40 million is your floor for per year.
Exactly.
So then you're giving up a pick plus that more money. It just doesn't make much
I
sense
can't
for your
do it.
team to do that.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
So that would be a big gamble for them.
Matthew
I don't
Stafford,
know if it
maybe.
would pay off.
Would you do it for Matthew Stafford? If he got franchised, which is not the same case,
Right.
because that's
That's a guy that's shown that can do it.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold has not shown he can do it. And everybody in the NFL watched the same 2 games that we all did here sitting at home. And they all saw that Sam Darnold, when it mattered most, reverted back to his old form. And there you go. I think Sam Darnold is I do think Sam Darnold is much better than what people give him credit for in a vacuum.
Oh yeah, I like Sam Darnold.
And I do like you kind of have a little cap, number on how much I'd be willing to spend on Sam Darnold. But at the end of the day, that's why I kind of think they don't get tagged. Okay, so Matt Castle trade from New England to San Francisco was the last franchise tag and trade.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
that was a
that was
long
the
time
year
ago.
he played for Brady.
In fact, that was so long ago, I don't even freaking remember that. Are we sure that was Matt Castle or was that Jimmy G that got franchise tagged and traded?
Oh, I'm not sure. I want to say
Did Matt Castle play for San Francisco?
I don't remember that. So I want to say it was Jimmy G.
I know Matt Castle played against San Francisco.
And
when
Jimmy
he was
G
in
played
his
for the
side.
49ers.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
yeah.
So I don't know.
That may have
Matt
been the last
Castle.
one. But man,
I don't remember him in the 49ers.
that was also
uniform.
a $20 million franchise tag, if I'm not mistaken, at the time.
Right.
Not a $40 million franchise tag. There's a lot happens, between
inflation,
now and then.
it's all
Yeah.
the same.
Well, I don't know.
It's the same price you
hey,
do with your
listen,
eggs.
we're sitting here
20
trying to
years
say,
ago,
let's
what
get-
you pay for your eggs, man.
there you go. I know. Let's go to Rick and Franklin who wants to talk about the quarterback situation. Rick, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Love the show. I have some concerns about, if we. Well, here's just a thought. Maybe you get a bridge quarterback, right? And it's Garoppolo, whoever it turns out to be.
Right.
Well, then what happens is the guys. Then you have all these extra picks, so you build up. The team's on the way. We get a good edge rusher, whatever, and then we wind up winning like 7 or 8 games.
Then we're in the middle
But
of
then
the
that
draft.
means you're not going to be in the running to get a top flight quarterback for the next year. And so, what about if you get a bridge quarterback and then go ahead and get like Cam Ward and then set him on the bench and let him learn. And unless he starts looking like, man, this guy's really something, then reverse roles. Could you do something like that, or does that take away so many picks because we need so many people? That's my question.
Yeah, I mean, that is the risk of going. Thanks for your call. The risk of going quarterback one overall is that you do have so many holes. So, like, if there was a trade offer on the table, and there is supposedly a rumored trade offer on the table for the number 1 overall pick, take it with a grain of salt. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But, like, at the end of the day, you're kind of looking at it and go, how can I build the most complete team? But as a general manager, you're weighing that kind of philosophy. How can I build a complete team via the draft or free agency with what's best for my team? And sometimes drafting the quarterback, even into a bad situation, can be what's best for your team.
So you would do that? You co-signing with that?
I'm team trade back. Like I will probably always be team trade back, but my personal logic is always team trade back. But again, if the Tennessee Titans, I don't know if I have conviction in one quarterback over another. I like Shedeur Sanders more than Cam Ward, but I don't know if I like Shedeur Sanders more than a trade back opportunity if the right one presented itself. Not just any trade back opportunity. It has to be the right one. Like, you have to pay me a lot of money, a lot of draft capital for me to move off that pick.
Well, everybody who's listening, I'm about to tell you what's about to happen at the draft.
All right.
This is what's going to happen. Sam Darnold's going to actually sign with the Raiders. That's going to help out with the Titans.
Yeah.
Guess why? Because if they move down, guess what? Shador may still be there. You stay in your top 5 when you trade with whoever it is. Hopefully it'll be somebody in the top 5. And then you still can get your quarterback and you pick up another pick.
Yeah, that is a possibility.
I like that scenario.
Now, that is a possibility if things hit right in free agency, right?
Because,
Yeah, I'm with you. But you also run a risk if you have conviction. You run a risk of that guy not being there.
Right,
but
and he cannot be there.
Yeah,
That's
it
true.
was interesting, though, to see today. There was a clip that popped up of Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders practicing with talking.
Right. They use the same training.
And Cam Ward said something, it's crazy that these people think you're going to fall out of the top 6, these analysts. And Shedeur said something to the fact, it makes me sick. I'm not even going to buy any more TV. He's not buying any more TVs.
Oh, my.
But, like, he's saying that they're hearing where they're kind of going.
Right.
So what you need to take away from that is right now, Shedeur Sanders is likely not making it out of the top 6. Likely.
Right. That's
Now,
why I
it
said
can
you can't
happen.
go below
Right.
6. So, but
Yeah.
hopefully it's in the top 4. Then you at least got a shot.
Yeah.
Whether you get him or if not, you end up getting someone else. I
Yeah.
mean,
it just should illustrate further that this quarterback draft class, teams are not as low on this quarterback draft class as media and fans are.
But here's the backup plan. Let's say the quarterbacks I am passionate about are gone, and then I have extra value based off the call.
That's true. So you could be fine.
You could move up or back with one of those other picks to get your second tier that you're passionate about, whether it's a McCord or whoever it may be. And you feel like, okay, now we're not forced to put them out here immediately, and you still have your veteran quarterback. As soon as there's some mishaps, or let's try to move forward, or you're not winning, then let's put him out there and get him some experience. So there's some different ways you can go about this in getting your quarterback, even if the quarterback doesn't pan out. You still have a couple years till you get into the stadium. I know every year's 1 year, but you got to think long term when you're the GM, and so. Sometimes, going after that quarterback because he's number 1 overall, if you're not have conviction for him, then who do you have conviction for? Even though if they're in that second tier, hey, man, get him at the 15th with the other pick that you receive, or, take him later. I just feel like
a trade back does provide you so much flexibility.
Flexibility, right. It's so... would you, knowing you need a quarterback, this is the issue. And you got the number 1 pick. It's easy. Just pick the quarterback, right?
Typically.
but you got there because you were a bad team all over the place. So that's where I'm conflicted. It's just like, oh, man. I would not want to be in the shoes, especially
aren't you glad you're not having to make these decisions?
Well, it's the first-year GMs and this group working together, too. And I'm sure they're battling with it on a daily basis. So you need a franchise quarterback, and then you're going to say, when is the next time I'm going to get the number 1 overall pick?
Right. I mean, that's the thing. Well, technically, in free agency, you may actually know if you're trending towards getting that number 1 overall pick again. If you don't have a quarterback by the time free agency and the draft rolls around, you know what I'm saying? You kind of know if it's looking like Will Levis is your QB1 in the middle of March, buckle up. You're probably getting the number 1 overall pick again.
Oh, man. No, come on, man. He's going to – you're discounting that all the players that played last year that was their first year starting, that they won't get better. They didn't get here by happenstance.
That was his second year starting.
He started 6 games. So, a full season. When I say first, it's also because it was with this, this coaching staff. So not to say that he'll be a starter because I don't think that's what's going to happen, but – all the players that were in their first year starting, you would think every player, whether offense, defense, or even special teams, that they would improve because their job and their pay depends on it. So if you're not working on your craft, you will not be here for long, and that's what the NFL stands for. I don't care who you are. I would hope that everybody improves. So with that being said, maybe Levis improves enough where they could trade him.
Maybe.
Or he improves enough to go, you know what? Let's give him a little bit. Let him buy some more time. Never know.
You never know. You never know what could have happened with Will Levis. It's just, I wouldn't be betting my job on it. I'd be the last person I'd be betting my job on as far as that's concerned. So, obviously this quarterback carousel is going to have a lot of twists and turns to it. It's going to be wild because the franchise tag deadline is March 4th, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, Tuesday, March 4th. The legal tampering window for free agency is Monday. Opens up Monday and Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on Monday. And then free agency, where everything becomes official that has led up to that point, becomes official 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, March 12th, and that is a Wednesday. So, the Combine is coming up next week. The last day of the Combine is offensive line bench presses on Monday. So Monday, Combine's officially over. I'm sure very few teams actually stay for the bench press. And then Tuesday, franchise tag deadline. So the Combine coming up is going to, all those little rumors are going to be popping up over the next week. It's going to be real interesting to see where the tea leaves kind of read, where they sway.
Yeah, that's the rumor mill at the Combine is always huge, and you get some really good insight, and then you also get some lion season starts.
Yeah.
So you're trying to differentiate what is true and what is not.
Yeah.
So it's a real difficult deal, especially if you're not paying a lot of close attention to what's really going on, and even actually on the ground there. So it's always difficult because all the the national media guys come out with putting out their stuff that the agents want them to put out there so they can grasp on the straws. Could get okie doke, could get juked, man.
I know. You gotta be careful up there. I mean, you have to, because you start looking at, these situations, and agents are up there.
Yep.
What happens is the Combine's over, the day's done. Everybody goes to one or two bars. All your head coaches, your GMs, your scouts, your reporters, your media folk, your agents, they go to like one or two bars up there.
Mm-hmm.
Loose lips, because of a little alcohol, little truth serums in them.
They say loose lips sink ships.
They do. They do. And so you look at this whole thing, and you're hearing all these rumors, and you got to remember the first question out of you that should come to your mind when you read a tweet or a rumor is, who does this benefit?
Yeah.
Does it benefit the team wanting to, like in a trade rumor, for the team wanting the player, the team trading away the player, or the agent, aka the player? Who does it benefit? And that's excuse me. That's where for me always lies, is like with these whole thing, is that you can't really trust too much. Again, 2 weeks before the draft is for draft rumors. That's when you can start believing that. But this is when you start seeing the stuff about free agency, right? That's the Combine a couple of years ago is when we first heard that people are calling around the Derrick Henry trade rumors to Rand Carthon's first year as GM, was when we started hearing those trade rumors. Those rumors turned out to be pretty true.
Yep.
So not everything is a lie there, but that's why you got to kind of filter it, and that's why you have me and Blaine here, because we're gonna give you the we're gonna do the agent decipher. We're gonna go like the agent speak index here on some of these tweets. When we come back, we'll go to Brian, who wants to talk about Will Levis. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
As an athlete myself, I know how frustrating nagging pain or injuries can be to your performance. So if you have a nagging pain or injury that's been keeping you from fully enjoying your favorite sports or activities like golf, tennis, or whatever it may be, now's the time to take care of it. Spring is a great time to make this happen. And Edge Peptide Hormone Therapy has multiple regenerative treatment options for treating, healing, and recovering from your injuries or pain. So Edge has everything from PRP treatments to stem cell therapy. And Edge focuses on your body's natural ability to heal, and the ultimate goal is always to avoid surgery if possible. Reduce joint pain and inflammation, promote tissue repair, and even improve mobility and function. So call Edge for a comprehensive consultant to create the perfect treatment plan for you at some of the most aggressive pricing you'll find in the area. And all you have to do is just go online and check them out at edgepeptide.com. Yes, that's edgepeptide.com. Or you can just give them a call today at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here at 105 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. And you're just tuning in, I bet you'll never guess what we're talking about for the Tennessee Titans. Quarterback, because that is the only position that matters in the NFL. But specifically it matters for this team because they are at a crossroads and options could dwindle very quick for the Tennessee Titans. Options that they love. By the way, not just options in general, options they really love because everybody's going to be like, well, you got the first overall pick, just take a quarterback. They may not like either of these quarterbacks. They may find something out through their interview process or through their background process that they're like, this guy doesn't have it between the ears. They're not going to make that same mistake like they made with Will Levis and just assume this guy was coached up and everything is right between the ears. They're actually going to have in-person conversations, in-person analysis, and all that kind of stuff. So, let's go to Brian, who wants to talk about Will Levis. Brian, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Hey, what's up?
Good, man. I'm really not a Will Levis fan, but I do want to say this. What's going to be funny is if Will come back and look better than everybody in camp simply because he knows the offense. But it's going to be crazy, but I would like to hear Coach Callahan say out of his mouth who he really wants as quarterback. I'll hang up and listen.
Hey, I'd be all about that, Brian. I mean, like that'd make our job a whole lot easier if he would just come out and do what you said yesterday and just say, "Hey, we're all in on this quarterback." And maybe they do that.
I didn't say name a quarterback.
I was just like, kind of like the Bears did. They said, hey, we're taking such and such.
Right. They knew everybody knew Caleb.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, I kind of look at it and I'm like, man, sure would be nice to know that. But at the end of the day, you may get hints because the way that Brian Callahan has talked about his offense since he's been hired would lead you to believe that Shedeur Sanders would be his preferred quarterback. Now, I would love to hear him actually say that, but he hasn't got to meet Cam Ward yet. He's met Shedeur, but he hasn't got to meet Cam Ward, and that's a big part of this process, I think, for not only just Brian Callahan, but Mike Bergonzi and Chad Brinkers meeting these guys face-to-face to private meetings and stuff.
So Cam Ward, did he do the East West? No, he didn't.
No, he didn't do any All-Star games.
Man, hey.
So let me ask you a question.
That's tough sledding. I would definitely, if I'm talking about drafting my franchise quarterback, I definitely got to meet him.
That's what the combines. But like,
that's when everybody else is there. I know they got you
Yeah.
can bring him in after that and all.
But let me ask you a question. Shedeur didn't compete in the All-Star game, but he played his full bowl game. He showed up to the All-Star game, accepted an invite, and did interviews. Maybe he doesn't throw out the combine. Cam Ward did half an All-Star game or half a bowl game, no All-Star game circuit, no interviews in All-Star game, none of that, and he doesn't throw out the combine. Do you view any of those processes differently, those decisions differently when you're talking about the quarterbacks, or are you just strictly tape is the tape, personal interviews matter more?
I mean, the tape is always a tape, but you also want to see them compete. And I understand a lot of this stuff is giving advice from their agent. So you got to take that into account. You just say, so why did you want to hear them answer why you didn't compete at the combine? And if it's a satisfactory answer, then cool, you keep moving on. All these guys are going to have their own individual workouts. So I know I'm going to get to see him go out there when he is now under control of all the environment, his receivers and everything else.
Yeah.
So I don't really, based off what the history has been of the league, it's really hard to have really an issue with that because all the guys who were the top, guys that coming out, most of them didn't work out. Not to say all of them, but most of them had choices and, so he may decide just to work out, let's say do the bench and run the 40 and those things and do no throwing. So sometimes I just say, well, how did you come up with your decision to not do anything? So you want to push them a little bit just to see where they're at with it. But that's not the biggest thing for me. They put in their work, their eye in the sky doesn't lie, their film, and then their own personal workouts. That's enough. But for me, the quarterback is always going to be what's in between the ears because he's going to be the face of our organization.
So yeah, I kind of view it that way. It's like I want to know the why behind it if I'm a team.
Yeah, I want to ask them.
But I mean, you kind of also, I mean, I would assume most of these guys, NFL teams and stuff, are kind of like kind of how you described, kind of know there's probably agent advice and stuff like that. Not a lack, especially in Cam Ward's case, not a lack of wanting to be competitive, because I don't get that sense from him that he doesn't strive off competition. But you always want to know the why, regardless if you, in your mind, assume you know what the why is.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, there is no way in Sam, as you know what, that any of these guys aren't competitive to a level that is cancerous. Mm-hmm. So they couldn't have got where they are without it.
Exactly.
So that part of competing, would I love to see him throw and compare him right eyeballs to eyeballs with all the other quarterbacks? Yes. Oh, I'd love that. But when you're the top guys, I get it. I wish, but you're probably not going to get that for a very long time. There's been some years, though, that some top flight quarterbacks have worked out at the combine, but dang. It's tough because you got to remember now these receivers don't know you. You're trying to develop timing. So sometimes when you don't complete the ball or the ball, goes high or something, you go, well, dang, what happened here? It's like
you can really there are some people that help themselves at the combine, right? Some quarterbacks do, but those quarterbacks typically don't end up being any good, right?
Right.
Like very rare. There are some very rare instances where a quarterback. There are instances. But those are more the exceptions to the rule, because remember, like, everybody praised Will Levis's combine. Everybody praised Anthony Richardson's combine. They were wild. Wow, look at these guys. Right. Pro day, look at these guys.
Did Richardson run like a 4.5? What did he
run? He had like a insane. I'll have to look it up, but he had some like insane athletic score.
I was right on that.
And like, so I put together. Here's where I kind of nerd out. So I collect a database every year and compare these players by position to Pro Bowl players or recently drafted rookies that had success, all pro players, their combine numbers. Kind of compare where people rank athletically. Is there a common thread, like for edge rushers, draft athletes, like all the people that are really good edge rushers in the NFL, your all pros, your Pro Bowlers, your rookie of the year candidates, they're all super athletic. Okay, so you don't draft like a Jalen Harrell in the 7th round. No offense to Jalen Harrell, who has a low athletic score. Okay, so like you don't do that and expect anything, right? So like when you do all that, but like for quarterback, I'm not even putting in the athletic data.
Me either.
Because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
And so like the combine is kind of a wash for the quarterbacks, in my opinion. It can help maybe like a Seth Hennigan or a Max Brosmer or a Tyler Shook, those guys.
Maybe McCord.
I mean, like it's really more for the later round guys. Your first round draft picks, I mean, like Jane Daniels didn't do it last year. Caleb Williams didn't do it last year. I mean, they showed up, got measured, then they were on their way. They did their interviews. And like,
well, those are top two guys. But the guys who are in middle round, are you trying to push yourself up, to a higher level to the second?
Bo Nix probably helped himself, or because and Michael Penix, because those guys also didn't have that great of senior bowls, but they looked really good here. Like this could help Jalen Milroe, because people are so infatuated with his athleticism, right? Like I'm sure he's going to blow the combine testing, physical testing out of the water. I'm sure he's going to have some pretty deep balls on there to a receiver down in the throwing sessions. But it could help him for sure. But like for these other guys, I wouldn't really blame them if they didn't want to throw at the combine. I wouldn't blame any player that any quarterback, top draft pick quarterback, not throwing at the combine.
Well, I'll say this before we go to break, is that all those quarterbacks actually really want to throw the ball.
Yeah.
They actually really want to go perform.
But the agents tell them it doesn't really help you.
This whole combine deal is to tear you down and find holes in your game, and it's better off that you do it under your own environment where it's controlled by you and your trainers. So, that's what happens.
Yeah, I'm with you. When we come back, we'll talk about this trade rumor regarding the Titans' #1 overall pick. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
It is 2 o'clock. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. Today, the NFL informed clubs of the salary cap range for the 2025 season, and it will be jumping up to a minimum of $277.5 million with a maximum jump of $281.5 million. That's a minimum of a $22.1 million jump from 2024's $255 million cap limit. This is according to NFL reporter Dan Graziano. In other NFL news, the Chiefs are not expected to franchise tag or transition tag guard Trey Smith. The former Vol has been with the Chiefs since he was drafted in 2021 and could be headed to the free agent market. College hoops tonight as Vanderbilt travels to Kentucky to take on the Wildcats in Rupp Arena. Tip-off for that one set for 6 p.m. For our foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045 if you want to get in on the conversation. And we were talking earlier about the kind of the grain of salt nature when it comes to the rumors coming from the combine. You kind of have to decipher through it. Well, there's one that...
With all the salt outside.
Yeah, with all the salt outside. Well, this one probably has enough salt to thaw your driveway if necessary. There you go. Because the Jets, according to Brett Hoffman, who I have never heard of before this tweet, but he works for now what's called Pro Football Sports Network, formerly Pro Football Network, PFN for short, but they were kind of competing with PFF for the longest time, and I guess the PF wars there. But many respectable people work at the Pro Football Network. I believe that's where Troy Wingos has ended up and everything. So they got lots of people and lots of background. But this is a guy I've never heard of. And I would definitely take this with the largest grain of salt that you can find. But he reports, in quotation marks I will say, reports, the Jets have contacted the Titans to discuss the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft to get Cam Ward. Potential trade package. Jets first round pick in 2025, which is number 7.
Okay.
Their second round pick in 2025, a first round pick in 2026, a second round pick in 2026, and another second round pick in 2027.
Oh.
So I saw this tweet. Joseph, producer Joseph of 3HL, brought it to me. And I saw this tweet. My first question was, who the hell is Brett Hoffman? Never heard of him before.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't know who that guy is. So that's why I looked. I looked at where he was.
So is he
Pro Football? He works
credible?
Credible and not credible enough where I'd say that this is all 100% on the up and up. But he says he has heard from people and sources. And I think the trade package is kind of framed by his own thoughts. But the Jets have contacted the Titans, seems to be rooted in stuff that he has heard. And I'd say grain of salt season, obviously, but that would be a no-brainer trade for the Tennessee Titans. And to me, I don't care how early it is. I don't think anybody's really coming along and beating that trade package, quote-unquote trade package. If that was an offer on the table, I'd immediately take it. Like right now. I ain't even waiting for the combine. Give me that trade.
I wrote all this down, and I started getting giddy. I had conviction that, guess what? I want to trade this.
Because you would have 2 firsts next year, 2 second-round picks next year, and you could trade up for any quarterback with that kind of ammo next year.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I am in.
And this is a no-brainer. This goes along with my plan of having, But
again, I would say that this is not. This is a grain of salt. But if this
hearsay,
let's just say, if I was the Tennessee Titans and this offer was actually on the table, I'd make 2 phone calls to see if anybody else wants to beat it, and if not, I'd take this trade right before the combine.
Just 2?
Screw it.
I would have just took
I think there's
took
only
one.
you only do one. You just only call it one.
I was like, hey man, let's see if we can get another first round.
Yeah, because you still got a 7th round pick, right? I mean, we're not 7th round pick, 7th overall pick.
Yeah,
that's not a bad pick to have in this draft. Still, like again,
I would use some of that to even move up if I wanted one of those. If like Hunter is available at 4. So I don't know because somebody might take him. But
right. You could always trade up for one of those guys.
Oh man.
Or you could just stick a pick and get Tyler Warren. And I know Tyler Warren doesn't excite a lot of people because he plays tight end, but he's like one step below Brock Bowers. I don't know. I just look at it like this, like I understand that this is a very do not take this to the bank. Do not bet your mortgage on this being true. But like at the end of the day, what I'm saying is if this was true,
please
you just take it.
Please be true.
Like, give me a break. That is a no-brainer.
So you get a number 7 and a second round
this year in
2025.
and then a first and a second next year, and then a second in 2027. Man, that is a lot of shots that you are able to take to improve your roster.
And you can even use one of those picks to trade back up into the first round,
if you
even
wanted
in the
to.
later round, to get a guy that
It may be falling that you didn't expect to fall. Like, could be James Pierce could fall. Like, there are rumors now.
Ooh, I'm sure the crew in there who are Tennessee fans would love that.
The rumors are flowing
since
now.
they're paying attention so much. No, we're talking about that you could trade back up with the offer here, potential offer by the Jets.
You'd have to jump the Eagles because there's nothing that the Eagles love more. Listen, there's not anything that the Eagles love more than a guy that is like a top 15 pick quality dropping because of character concerns right into their laps.
Okay.
And that is why he's dropping. So there is a rumor floating out. He's the first real victim.
Pierce?
Yeah. So
I've never heard of this. This is the first I've heard of this.
Yeah, so there's
you heard of this, guys?
Well, they're the ones who told me about it.
Oh my.
So here it is.
What's the issue?
James Pierce Jr.'s character concerns are allegedly causing his draft stock to plummet. Oh. A playoff team's director of player personnel said, and this is probably the Eagles trying to get him to drop, he's in danger of getting dropped off our board and that there are a lot of character concerns. Pierce has an elite analytical profile, elite film. Yeah, that's debatable. SEC pedigree and will destroy athletic testing, more than likely. He was left off of the most recent mock draft by Move the Sticks, Daniel Jeremiah. Despite these facts, one has to assume these concerns are shared around the league. He will have to do well in interviews if so. And there have been many people allegedly from his high school that say these are not made up character concerns. He's actually crazy. He had the worst anger issues ever. And according to Joseph, Joseph's my UT guy. He kind of, he's covered the team, for in college and all this stuff. He thinks that there's some truth to this. But then if you're trying to trade up, you got to trade up past the Eagles because the Eagles are going to take him. He ain't dropping out at 32. The Eagles will absolutely take an edge rusher of James Pierce's ilk on their team, and they'll just keep getting better and better and better.
So I'd love for the guys from Tennessee, what rumors did you hear with Amy? Like, give me an example.
I haven't heard any
I can't
rumors.
just hear, he had anger concerns. Then that makes make it feel like it's just a rumor. So I want to hear example. Like, okay, the Tennessee never mentioned that he had any anger issues. I know he didn't do a lot of interviews.
He didn't do a lot of interviews.
I know his
that's
family
not
was involved.
I thought always that was just his personality. He wasn't very. He was an introvert.
I did too.
More of an introvert, and so
right.
I have not personally heard any rumors about this. This is the first I've seen of this.
Oh, well, I thought you said he told
Joseph,
but Joseph did.
Yeah.
So what
that's Jackson.
I know, but I'm asking. Like, okay, he's sitting in there. I mean, what you got an example of what you think they're talking about here?
I heard that there were some issues between him and a couple of the coaches at Tennessee, where he got aggressive towards some of them, some players as well. It's just I don't know specifics. I just know that. And then there were some people apparently from his high school quote tweeting that, saying that they knew him in high school, and that was 100% true, and that anger issues have been with him since he was in high school. Now, take those with a grain of salt. because it's people on Twitter. You don't know their actual identities and stuff like that. But a couple people have come out and put some
Tennessee didn't have any concerns because if they knew that, they heard that too in high school, right?
Say that again. Sorry.
Well, Tennessee knew that from high school, correct? Or they didn't?
I would assume they would had to have known. So yeah.
So it'll be interesting, again, this happens every year, every draft cycle. But the fact that Daniel Jeremiah has already moved him off his top 32, and I believe while I was at the Senior Bowl, Daniel Jeremiah had him right at 32 going to the Chiefs at the time because he projected the Chiefs to win.
Yeah.
So now he's fallen back out of there again. Yeah. So there must be something that he too, because Daniel Jeremiah and Dane Brugler and a couple of these, those higher profile draft guys, what they're hearing around the league tends to influence their mock drafts a little bit.
Right.
So I wonder if maybe he's hearing the same thing that everybody else is hearing.
Well, I'm going to say this. I hope both of these rumors are true.
I know, right?
The Jets and all this draft collateral here. And guess what? Even the Pierce, not because I don't like him, it's because I actually hope then the Titans trade back up in the first round and get him. Because
that's an Eagles thing to do, right? Like you take the best player available no matter what and just hope that your coaches can get that under control.
And the only reason why I say that is I believe it half-heartedly, but at the same time, why are we just now hearing this? That's why I go back to the UT coaches must have known. Because you said a high school person. Well, I'm sure if they did their due diligence, they knew that when he came out of high school.
Right.
Absolutely they did. And it didn't bother them none, and they still recruited him.
Yep.
Well, guess what? Sometimes that ends up being maybe he was just immature. Oh, he had some issues with the coach. Well, what is worse, when you stepped on the UT and the quarterback got in a fight with the other players, or this guy is standing up for himself having a debate about something that he did or didn't do? See?
Yeah.
So, Hooker didn't get smashed or whoever that quarterback was, Milton. It was Milton, right? You stepped on the tee and he got in a fight with somebody, right? That was something
That was Hendon Hooker and Jeremy Banks.
Banks, okay, right. And we all know Banks' issue, right? But that was, you knew
Banks
the line there was some arrest there, too.
Yeah, Banks had some more publicized issues.
Right, oh yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Right.
So this originally comes from WalterFootballs.com's Charlie Campbell, who in an excerpt said, one player who needs to ace these interviews is Tennessee edge rusher James Pierce Jr. While Pierce had multiple seasons of good tape hunting the quarterback, team sources say that Pierce has significant character concerns and he is in a precarious position on draft boards.
I mean...
And I will say this, sometimes the NFL does not care about character concerns. I said that about Devondre Sweat.
Right, that is what I was about to say.
Yeah. But if I'm a team...
Who?
Devondre Sweat.
The plays for the Titans?
Yeah.
What was his character concern?
Well,
see how you put that in the same bucket as that's not the same bucket.
Well, he did have. Well, okay,
he was arrested.
He was arrested, obviously,
right.
but that obviously that can be chalked up as a youthful mistake, maybe. Yeah. But he did have concerns.
The guy
kind of followed him around throughout the year, and all that kind of stuff. I found him. Well, I kind of lump all those off-field concerns, I guess you would say.
Okay.
Off-field issues.
Character is a little bit different, but off-field issues.
Yeah, I'll just call them off-field issues because that's kind of, they use character concerns, so I just kind of carrying that around. Okay. But off-field issues is kind of how I kind of lump all those things in together. And to me, like, I always knew that Devondre Sweat's off-field issues were not going to drop him as far as what even Dane Brugler thought. Dane Brugler dropped him had him at 35, if I remember correctly, overall. After the DUI, dropped him all the way to 140-something. And I'm like, that's not how the NFL works, guys. The NFL is not going to penalize someone unless that bad for that little of an issue. Yeah, and of course, he had weight issues and all those other concerns.
I hope that happens. Then the Titans get their pass rusher.
You guys
would love that, which I
would take James Pierce.
Yeah, I would love that. I hope that happens. I hope that rumor gets out there.
I would not expect James Pierce to fall out of the first round.
That would be insane if he did.
I mean, I knew it was that to me is just as insane as saying that he's going to be a first overall pick or a top 5 pick or a top 10 pick.
Hey, he was up there.
No, he was never up there.
Or a Heisman candidate, wasn't he?
He was arrested in December of 2023 on a traffic stop. Those charges were dropped 2 weeks after the incident. That was his only publicized
James
incident.
Pierce?
Yes.
Gotcha.
What was it for? Did it say? Just a
It
traffic
was
violation?
speeding, driving on a suspended license, and failure to prevent insurance.
There you go.
Or present insurance, not prevent.
I'd never even heard of this arrest.
That's because
I
it
remember
probably
it
doesn't really
vaguely.
matter.
It
Didn't
was,
matter because he was a great player.
Yeah, he ended up playing about a month later
That's how
in
it
the
goes.
Citrus Bowl, and the charges were dropped 2 weeks after the incident. So it was never a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, listen, he ain't falling out of that first round. The Eagles are definitely going to draft him. If he's even at 32, I'd be very surprised.
He is at it's 25 and he's not
Now,
taking.
kid, listen to this.
I'm trading up.
Okay, not only am I trading up Blaine, but could you imagine the chip that's going to be on his shoulder? If he has anger issues now that he's dropped and he's bringing those anger issues in, he's going to murder quarterbacks.
You said murder.
Well, sorry. He's going to really hurt a lot of quarterbacks. Because he's going to be so pissed off. When we come back, we'll talk more NFL. We'll talk the NFL draft and Tennessee Titans. 615-737-1045. You want to get on the conversation. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here at 105 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation? ESPN put out an article about the 2 best free agent fits for the Tennessee Titans. Excuse me. And one of them is edge defender Malcolm Kuntz, who is formerly of the Las Vegas Raiders. And he was drafted, by the way, in the 3rd round of the 2021 draft. So there you go. And the other guy is Kevin Zeitler, who we talked about yesterday, the guard that is coming from the New York Giants that was formerly with the Detroit Lions. A guard right guard that you could put in and everything. And here's my holdup with the Kuntz.
With the Kuntz
is that the Kuntz suffered a season-ending knee injury just before the 2024 season.
Why would you say that 10 times?
I will not. But suffered a season-ending knee injury just before the 2024 season, and in the 2023 season he ended up with 8 sacks according to PFF. After going 0 sacks in 2022 and 2 sacks in 2021. So 2023 was kind of his first rotational season. He had some starts, but he's mainly a rotational player. I get that, he had one good season, but the Kuntz does not solve your problem at edge. I mean, you're just getting another Arden Key at this point, in my mind, especially coming off a season-ending knee injury.
Yeah, only reason why you would do this is if
his depth.
Yeah, but he's not going to be, breaking the bank by any means unless you decide to go in a different direction with one of the, 2 guys that are there, whether it's Key, Landry, or somebody else. So I don't know.
I mean, adding him to Arden Key, Harold Landry, and that's like getting a Rashad Weaver to me. Like, this doesn't move the needle, especially because he's coming off a big, huge knee injury that kept him out the entire 2024 season.
Please stay away from coming off an injury, big guy.
No guys where their first stop is the Tennessee Titans after a major injury.
Yeah, can't do it.
I'm out.
Unless it's for minimal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, like we were talking about with Kevin Zeitler, the guard out of my gosh, I can't even. The New York Giants.
He was with the Giants.
He was with the Giants. Or actually, no, he was with Detroit. He came from Baltimore to Detroit. So he was in Detroit in that year. Okay. I thought that was last year. Get all my years mixed up. He only allowed 4 sacks and 11 total pressures on, we're talking 577 pass block snaps. This is a guy that played 650 snaps total, he started every game from week 1 all the way to the championship game, and he is going to be 35 by the time that this season starts. Now, that sounds old, but this is a dude that has played pretty much almost every game of his career, it's looking like. He may have missed 1 or 2 games over the course of his career since 2012, but this is a guy that could instantly help your team, instantly upgrade your right guard spot at probably a bargain bin price. We're probably talking for him like $3 or $4 million, $5 million. And I get that everybody wants Trey Smith, and Trey Smith is a long-term solution, and that's what you'd be paying for is the long-term solution. But if you're in a rebuild year, I think this is a nice consolation prize.
How does his numbers, I know all the starts, so definitely, and I'm just using this as a comparison, so pump your brakes here. What was his numbers looking like just based off of last season? As a reason why I bring it up, because he's 35. So there's a concern for me that then all of a sudden, when they hit the wall, they go down and boom, they start having a lot of injuries. He hasn't missed pretty much any games. So how does he compare with the stats of pass rushing and run blocking compared to Dylan Radins, even though Radins missed plays last year? So that would, and he's a younger, up-and-coming player, I would say, that's borderline, starter, not starter. So you say, okay, what does he look like compared to him? And I would love to watch film too, by the way, but I would also gather some of this information.
So 6 sacks, 23 pressures versus 5 sacks and 11 pressures.
See?
Or 18 pressures.
So
maybe you could get a little bit similar. You'd pay a little bit more for Dylan Radins, probably because he's a little bit younger. But, I mean, again, Dylan Radins did have that injury that's when he started having his worst games of the season when he came back from that injury. He did run into Peter Skronsky a couple of times as well in some plays.
Yeah, that was really weird. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be opposed to Dylan Radins, but
no,
again,
I wouldn't. I was just wanting to measure up because when you're 35 and you have no history of getting injured and in the trenches, I'm going to equate it to, what was the guy we signed from the Broncos? Was it the Broncos? The guard, Stafford, or what was his name?
You got me.
He was a
Lloyd
guard.
Cushenberry?
No, he was a guard.
Saffold from the Rams.
Rams, right. Right. So Saffold was open, but see, one year he was good. Then the second year, he hit a big dip and started having major injuries to his neck, shoulder. The next, he never missed games either.
That's true.
And then all of a sudden,
he gets
here,
happening. And then he starts missing games.
Well, 1 year wasn't, but then after that, it was just like, oh my. See, so that would be more of a concern. And so if you can get him for, a good price for a 1 or 2 year deal, I'm all for it. Yeah, because I'm trying to be cost effective. I don't need to blow out the water with an elite level guard.
Right.
At this point in time, as long as I know he's going to be a dependable starter, he's solid. That's where we're going. We got to use it for something else here, man. We may have to go get a right tackle. I don't know what we may get in the draft. And maybe you do it vice versa. Maybe you get a guard in the draft and then you sign a free agent tackle or, the other way around. So, they're going to have to address both of them, though. And you got to have the security blanket for Cushenberry coming off an Achilles.
Yeah. I think you got to re-sign Daniel Brunskill. You got to re-sign NWI. And I'd be for re-signing Dylan Radins, too. I have not been the biggest
maybe in a backup role, but it's
maybe.
You know what you're getting.
If he had to start, I
like
wouldn't
Dylan
be really
Radins,
opposed to it, right? Like
I like him.
I haven't liked Dylan Radins throughout his whole career, but I will, call a spade a spade. He was pretty good last year,
and I called in training camp that he was better than he looked. It was because how he looked.
Yeah.
And his body transformed. He probably didn't have an injury in the offseason, so he really got to work on his body. He looked different. He actually looked like a guard.
Right.
And I was like, whoa, this is a little bit different. So I'd love to see maybe one more year of that, but at the right price.
Right. It's got to be at the right price, and I don't think he's going to command high top dollar. I think you can maybe get him for an inexpensive amount. I look at right tackle. And I don't remember their username, but during Buck's show, someone was asking about NPF on the F&M Bank chat on Twitch or YouTube, Facebook Live.
Ja-El.
My God, it stuck with you, I guess, apparently. But Ja-El mentioned,
you see my face?
Have we all given up on NPF?
Huh?
Like, the staff gave up on NPF. Did we not watch the games last year?
Oh, my.
The franchise gave up on
Yeah,
NPF.
the franchise gave up on him. So I look at right tackle and I look at a guy like Morgan Moses who's going to be a free agent. Again, he's older, but older technically means cheaper. And here's what I'm hoping. I would sign Morgan Moses, who last year for the New York Jets only allowed 2 sacks and 16 pressures in the 17 games he played at right tackle.
Okay.
Now, in this situation, I'm still drafting a right tackle. You have and this is going to piss off Stoney, including John Njoku. You have 0 right tackles on this team. So you need to sign one, and I wouldn't be opposed to signing multiple, but Daniel Brunskill can kind of fill that, and you need to still draft one. You have to draft a right tackle. So Morgan Moses, again, 1-year contract guy, but hopefully you found your right tackle in the draft.
Is Ronnie Stanley, how many tackles are available?
Well, Ronnie Stanley should be available. It's trending that way. He's going to be 31 this year, so he's not as old as people think. Right. But he's got injuries to mount up. Right. But that's a guy that, again, you kind of buy yourself some flexibility on the offensive line. And that's what you're trying to do in free agency. You're trying to provide yourself with as much flexibility throughout the year as possible while still trying to field a competitive team. It's a delicate balance. Not every team can do it. Not every team every year can pull that off. But you have to find that balance. So sometimes you may have to get older at a position to afford yourself time to get younger at the position later, if that makes sense. Find yourself a cheap guy like Morgan Moses and put him on this team. That he's also a veteran. I'm also looking at guys that are veterans that can provide you some leadership. And really, the offensive line, I don't think is necessarily in need of it leadership, but this offense is. So sometimes, that kind of carries both ways. So I look at it and I'm like, you get Morgan Moses and a rookie, theoretically, you have improved your right tackle situation exponentially. Because it's better than rolling with an NPF and all that crew, the ragtag crew from last year.
Yeah, what if you move? I think it's JD move NPF inside the guard.
I kind of sent that to Stoney as a joke in a text. Like,
is that what they were talking about?
I don't know if that's what they were talking about. Like, let's move NPF to guard because maybe you don't cut him and maybe you just move him to guard. But I don't know. And he has athleticism for the guard position, but I just don't know if he has that dog that is required. I feel like your center and your guards have to have so much willingness to fight and scrap and end plays, and he just doesn't have it. He just doesn't have it.
Yeah, he won't have in quotation character issues. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's got those gambling. And,
so is that in your bucket of character?
That would be off-field concerns for sure. Having a secondary fantasy football job while you're doing the regular season, definitely weird, in my opinion.
You got to be able to read the room there, NPF, man.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
But, going back to Malcolm Kuntz and Kevin Zeitler, you can do better than both of those. Yeah. Kevin Zeitler, I'm okay with. Malcolm Kuntz, yeah, that's just that's going to fall on deaf ears for me. That's going to be my, no offense to Malcolm Kuntz, I'm sure he's a nice guy, award every day. That's what I'm going to be saying. Well, no offense to Malcolm Kuntz. I'm sure he's a good guy, but he's not going to change the way this pass rush is. He's not going to help this defense. Enter in any kind of phrasing you want to do. This is not a guy that you should invest any kind of money in if you're the Tennessee Titans. If you're a team like the Eagles, team like the Commanders, a team that can take on the risk of a guy coming off an injury that's cheap, you do that. When you're the Tennessee Titans, you shouldn't even try to do it. You need to try to get guys that can be immediate contributors for this team.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting because most of the time, the right tackles, how often are they free agents? More often than left, but not very much. So you almost are forced to.
Well, the Jets traded for Morgan Moses before the free agency last year.
Yeah, I remember that. So,
he's not under contract though this time.
So, do you sign a free agent guard and think that you're going to draft a right tackle, or vice versa? See, that's the thought process, and it's. You could do both.
I'm trying to sign both, but I'm mainly looking at a right tackle in the draft. Now, if that doesn't end up your way, So you got to have a backup plan of some sort. But that
borderline starter
deal.
veteran, but he can also be rotational guy.
Yeah,
which was the guy that went to Western last year. Remember what was his name? And he thought Western Kentucky. He played with the Jets, I thought. That's who he was with, the Jets. That was the guy who ended up playing tackle, and he did well. I was like, the Titans should have signed him. He was here visiting everything.
You talk about Mekhi Becton?
Yes. No. Becton went to Louisville.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this kid went to, I think, Western Kentucky. I could be wrong.
I can't think of his name, but I know exactly who. Is it George Fant?
Yes. That's what I'm talking about.
When he was visiting.
He was a converted tight end, right?
I believe so. And remember, he visited, and the team accidentally posted some pictures of him on his visit.
Like he signed.
Yes.
Well, Jackson, while you're talking, I believe you have a giveaway, right?
I do. It's Winning Wednesday here on The Zone with Athletes Unlimited Pro Basketball, where you can win 2 tickets to see this weekend's games at Nashville's Municipal Auditorium. Be caller 5 now, 615-737-1045.
There you go. 615-737-1045 if you want to win those tickets. Tennessee Titans players were at that game. I've seen them. I think I've seen 2 different groups sitting courtside at that game. So maybe if you go to the game, you get some Tennessee Titans autographs.
A lot of big stars like Aisha Clark, Sydney Colson, Lexi Brown, Jordan Horston, former Vol. A lot of interesting stars in this Athletes Unlimited Pro Basketball.
There you go. Lots of stars. So 615-737-1045 if you want free tickets. Now, what all comes with those tickets? Isn't there like a big prize package?
Well, Jackson be there
No,
too.
it's just the tickets. That must have been a giveaway from a couple of days ago. Other than that, like I think Stoney makes a good point. Good tackles don't make it to free agency, and that typically tends to be the case. So just
That's why. So your thought process here is you're probably gonna have to draft your tackle and sign the guard.
or maybe they need to be looking at right tackles that are on their last year of their contract that you may be able to trade for, much like the Jets traded for Morgan Moses. Maybe you could trade. I think they traded him for like a 7th or a 6th round pick with the Ravens and got a right tackle that was on the last year of their contract. Maybe that is a situation where you could maybe make a play and get a guy that maybe you want to extend later if he plays well. And you can still draft one. That doesn't preclude you from drafting. And the way this Tennessee Titans team is constructed currently, there is nothing you could sign in free agency that makes me think you shouldn't sign it in the draft. Getting them in the draft. Because this team needs everything. They need to double dip on edge rusher. And they need double dip on tackle. They need double dip on wide receiver. They got a lot to double dip on. And so, like, right now, it doesn't matter what they do in free agency. I am like, okay, you could probably still get a guy in the draft. You probably still need a guy in the draft.
Man, I'm hoping this rumor mill about this Jets and all this package here, and to get even more package deals, I think we're gonna have to trade one of the better players for the
where
Titans.
it's kind of trending. If you're if you're wanting a quick turnaround or any kind of semblance of competitiveness going forward with the Tennessee Titans, you may have to trade back. But again, if you have conviction that Shadur Sanders or Cam Ward can come in and maybe elevate this team to at least a competitive team, maybe not a playoff team, but at least a competitive team, then you got to take the quarterback. But, man, those trade back scenarios always, 9 times out of 10, sound really, really good. And I've been that way since I've been covering the draft since essentially 2017. Really diving into the draft is like, I love trade backs. Like, I'd trade back every pick and maybe not even make a pick at the end of the draft. I'd be so trade back happy. But, like, I love trade backs. So that's where I'm kind of at. So, like, really for the Tennessee Titans, I'm thinking trade back is probably the best for long-term sustained success unless you fall in love with the quarterback. Don't draft a quarterback just because you have to have a quarterback. That's my biggest thing. Don't draft a player because you have to. Draft a player because you want to, because you have that conviction. All right, when we come back, we'll wrap up some of our draft talk. We'll talk about why the Atlanta scenario isn't truly off the table for the Tennessee Titans. When we come back, this is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here, 105 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. Who won the tickets?
Martha Procopio.
Well, Martha.
She says to tell Blaine hello.
Well, hello, Blaine from Martha. So tell Martha hello.
Martha.
We'll open up the phone lines. Last call for phone calls, 615-737-1045. And lucky for Martha and all those that are going to the game on Sunday, they'll get to see Don Davenport, who's going to be the sideline reporter for the game. So congratulations to Don on getting that gig. And, you guys will be able to, maybe see her, catch her, and say hello while you're at the game. So how about that? I got to go to the text line because I'm getting texts. I've gotten texts. This is the Cover 2 text line. I've gotten texts from...
We have a Cover 2 text line?
Yeah, it's my personal phone. I got Bert. Bert, the producer for Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Bert says, tell Blaine not to worry about Ronnie. Leave him alone. So Ronnie Stanley, as a Ravens fan.
But he's a free agent, right?
He's hoping he's not. So Ravens fan Bert does not want you to have Ronnie Stanley. And Lucas Panzica reminds us that, remember how blown away people were at how far Zach Wilson could throw it at a pro day? So again, that goes back to our earlier conversation about, maybe not throwing at your combine, such is not as big a deal as people want to make it out to be, and how people overblow, especially the Twitter analysts. They love a good throw on air, Blaine. I've never, if there's one thing, especially Tennessee Titans fans are big suckers for throws on airs. Because, when Will Levis or Malik Willis or any of these quarterbacks throw on air, that you got about 15,000 fans try and dissect. Oh, that's a great throw. No NFL player can make that throw that Will Levis just made on air. So, even though he's like throwing to Mason Kinsey and stuff like that. So, not throwing to anybody that's worth it. But I look at it and I go, this whole situation is that don't get wrapped up on the throws on airs. Just don't. That's my big advice to everybody. So the Atlanta Falcons last year signed Kirk Cousins. They also drafted Michael Penix Jr. in the first round. Now, obviously, they signed Kirk Cousins to a massive contract where they gave him over $100 million guaranteed. And here's why I say that the Tennessee Titans, the Atlanta scenario won't break the bank for the Tennessee Titans because there is no quarterback that is going to earn a contract. I'd be very, very surprised if any free agent quarterback earned a contract on the market with $100 million fully guaranteed at signing. That's not going to happen on the open market. So the Tennessee Titans, if they were to double dip, like we have talked about with edge or with offensive tackle, and decide double dip at quarterback, it wouldn't break the bank for the Tennessee Titans, more than likely. See, it hurt the Falcons technically, because they're still paying him like $26 million this year, so he's able to go sign a minimum deal, somewhere else if they choose to cut Kirk Cousins, and they haven't done it yet. But
it's a foregone conclusion.
It seems like a foregone conclusion to everybody. But at the end of the day, you look at it and
would you sign Kirk Cousins if that did happen, and you get him for, let's say, $10 million?
Yeah, why not? What really you can get to see the beauty of the contract, because they still have to pay him his 2025 base salary. So he's getting his base salary no matter what. So that's why he can kind of take like a $1 or $2 million deal. Will he do that? Probably not. But that's something. I think Russell Wilson was like a $2.5 million. Kirk Cousins probably going to fall in that range as well.
No, so I like that idea if they cut him for the Titans.
I'm just saying it could be a lot worse than getting Kirk Cousins on the cheap. It could be a lot worse. It could just be you have no quarterback and you're rolling with Will Levis. I would take a chance on Kirk Cousins for that cheap.
His elbow or shoulder, whatever happened, and Achilles, but I don't know where that was involved in all the injury issues.
Yeah, because Baker Mayfield got $40 million fully guaranteed at signing. So he's going to get paid $40 million no matter what. That's a $28.8 million signing bonus, and some of his base salaries are guaranteed. So, no quarterback out of this free agency class is going to come in at what Kirk Cousins got last year. So, to me, when you look at it, even if they were to sign Sam Darnold, they're not having to pay a lot to Sam Darnold compared to what they paid. They paid Kirk Cousins $90 million in fully guaranteed money. That's $50 million more.
I was stunned when they signed. I'm like,
that is $50 million more than what Baker Mayfield got.
Dang.
So just think about that for a second. So like, if you do a Kirk Cousins type situation where you do a vet and you do a rookie, it's not going to be as bad as what the Falcons did. You can learn from their mistakes. You can change up the numbers, and it won't be anywhere nearly as bad as what the Falcons did in terms of contract and contract return.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's not even close. I don't know if anybody would do that. To be honest, as much as I think Kirk Cousins is a quality player, he's obviously getting up there in age. And he had Achilles, and then they said really it was his shoulder or elbow or something on his throwing arm there. So I don't know how much is that is true or not. But I wouldn't mind for stopgap. You get him for the cheap. I'm gonna call it JR deal right there. Yeah. As long as he shows that he's healthy as of today, and then whether I have to draft a quarterback this year, maybe not with the first pick, but if it's even someone later in the first round or maybe in the mid rounds, then you at least can learn from somebody. And I think he's more of a mentor than anything else. We got to see him do that for Penix. So I don't think he has an issue with maybe halfway through the season. And the Titans would have an issue because he's getting him for the cheap. See, the Falcons are paying him. So I kind of like all these things as long as he's healthy. For the Titans, yeah.
I mean, again, you kick the tires on it, right? Because,
well, sure.
You didn't kick the tires on Tom Brady.
I wanted them to do that.
Yeah, and they didn't. That has been cemented in the J-Rob legacies that they didn't even attempt to do any kind of tire kicking on him. They weren't even involved at all. That has been confirmed by, if you go read Mike Silver's book as well. And then you look at the situation where San Francisco's wanted Kirk Cousins for a long time. And if Kyle Shanahan kind of wants you, I kind of want to keep you on my radar all the time. It's kind of I like Sam Darnold. He wanted to bring in Sam Darnold and all that kind of stuff. To me, if I'm looking at an investment of $5 million or under, heck, I would even probably say $10 million and under for Kirk Cousins. Mm-hmm. I'm taking it because, again, you bring in a guy with to me, you bring in a guy that is a locker room leader instantly. Locker room impact player on the field too. I know that he's coming off an injury, but he'll be removed from the Achilles injury. The shoulder injury is probably not as bad as what everybody maybe has up in their head. So I'm taking that chance on Kirk Cousins. Now, again, he's the very definition of a bridge quarterback. Mm-hmm. I'm not signing him to a multi-year deal or anything like that unless he just kind of goes crazy next year for you. But at the end of the day, you could do a lot worse when it comes to bridge quarterbacks. That will do it for us. 3 HLs up next. This has been Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. And in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.